financial intelligence is extremely important, but the schools are never going to teach you that.
That's right.
The reason they won't teach you that is that the education system teaches you that in
You
junior
wouldn't be
high.
dependent on the system. Welcome everybody to Expeditiously. I'm your host, Tip T.I. Harris. Now what we do here is we have relevant discussions that can push the culture and the community forward. And we have these discussions with people who are relevant to the discussion. Now our next guest has tons of wisdom and experience from the entrepreneurial standpoint. He's come a long way from turning the $40 budget into what we now know as Fubu, for us, by us. Flip that into a $6 billion fashion game changer. Throughout his career, he's continued to be an entrepreneur in every sense of the word, not only a pioneer in the fashion industry, but now a shark on the 4-time Emmy Award winning Shark Tank, where I think I should also be a guest at least once or twice every season. A New York Times best-selling author, a branding guru, a highly sought-after motivational speaker. Now, I know that you all know who I'm talking about at this point, so ladies and gentlemen, please welcome to Expeditiously, Daymond John.
Thank you for having me, man.
Man,
Appreciate
what's
it,
happening,
brother.
King?
Appreciate it.
Right on. I appreciate you for coming here, man.
Thank you for having me, brother. As
Man. So what we do here, man, I try to kind of like set the landscaping for the future millionaires and kind of get them some shit that they could use from where they are today to where they will be when they become me or even the likes of Daymond John. So I think the one thing everybody always wants to know is, how do you start?
Yeah. There's no one formula to starting, right? The only key to starting is starting small, starting with whatever resources you have. So whether you was out in the park, you know what I mean, having a rap and perform and entertain people, whether I was on the street selling hats,
Right.
I took the shot and did it. I didn't say, man, I need a big budget. I need to design this. I can't, I just had to do it. I just had to get out there and keep doing it. And that's the most important thing that anybody, and that's the successful people, that's what they do.
I think I can attest to that. Now, you turned a $40 budget for Fubu into a $6 billion company. Okay. Now, I've seen some pretty miraculous things, you know what I'm saying? $40 into $6 billion is kind of unheard of. How did you do that?
When you put it in context, it sounds crazy like that, but I think every one of us has turned pennies into something. You remember, the $40 was really me just going out and selling hats on the corner that I made. I would close that business 3 times from 89 to 92 because I would run out of $2,000.
Right.
Be like, I ain't doing this no more.
Right.
Then people started saying, yo, man, remember when I bought a hat of that shirt? I've been looking for you. I need it again. And I'd be like, man, I love what I'm doing here.
Right.
All right, I'm going to make some more. So then I'd run out of another 2,000. Then I'd run out of another 2,000. But then I started, every single time that I have failed, I started to learn what I needed better.
Right.
And that's how you take that 40 or $2 or $0 and turn it into, whatever it is. It's just the origin of the story is $40. And the reason why we share that is because I don't want people out there saying, yo, you need money to make money, because you don't.
So the lessons are truly in the losses.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? I think that we all can agree that we learn much more from the lessons than we do from the much more from the losses.
People who are successful, like you and I, who are sharing a level of success, whatever we deem success be, right?
Sure.
It's always the losses. Most people I see with successful companies or careers, they started the first time with the company and they didn't have the right legal structure.
Right.
Closed it. Next time they had the right legal structure, but they didn't have financing. Close it. Next time, legal structure, financing, but not distribution. Close it. By the time they get to 5 or 10, they got everything in place.
Right.
You know what I mean? But they had to
they had to go through the motions.
They had to go through the motions.
I mean, I think that's true for a lot of us. I think Jay dropped his first album, didn't do so well, and came back and doubled down. It was a cult classic in the hood. Yeah. But as far as commercial success, when everybody was going triple and quadruple platinum, he was like, inching that goal. However independent, he parlayed that into a better situation for himself, and I also took that path. You know what I'm saying? So I can understand, exactly how one, has to take matters into their own hands.
But you also kept trying, right? I saw you, listen, I saw that you went out and you did a TV show, right? Nobody said that was going to work or not, right? But you did it. You weren't embarrassed to say, What if it doesn't work? What if I get canceled? You say, yo, I'm gonna do. Then you go and do a podcast. Then you go and do all the things. Then you venture into other capital businesses and stuff like that. But it's usually the people who are so afraid they make excuses on why it can't be done that don't get it done. And instead of just failing, fuck it, you failed.
Right. I mean, I think there's a lot to be said for that. Like, okay, so going from, you know, selling hats out on the corner and, you know what I'm saying, closing businesses and opening them up, living from, I guess, shipment to shipment. What was the first sign of success that you can recall?
I think the first sign of success, because, you know, my life is, like all of us, has been many little successes leading up to others. The first sign of success was I got a store to carry my stuff, and now they're selling out of it. A small store, didn't matter. But now I'm getting proof of concept. Now I'm starting to understand what's selling.
Right.
Starting as a designer, we all want to make a million colors, a million styles.
Right.
So what did I do? I stood outside and I found out the store would sell, and even now it's true in fashion. I made 10 colors, but the store sold 60% of black and 20% of white.
Right.
So now I cut my SKUs down to white, black, and blue.
That's
right.
right.
I had 10 logos. Only wanted 2 type of logos, the FB and the other one. So I cut my logos down. Right. They only wanted double X at the time, because, you know, back then nobody's wearing no shirt that said small. You know what I mean? They wanted it. So that was the first success, getting to test that, right?
Right.
Because you see on Shark Tank, we always say, what are your sales? The reason why we're asking your sales is we want to know who's your customer, right? Because if you don't know who your customer is, then how am I going to invest in you? Because then I don't know who your customer is.
That's right.
Right? Then the next success was I went to Vegas and I did a trade show and I wrote $300,000 in orders.
Dope.
Then I'd come back and I'd start making the orders. I would almost lose my house and go bankrupt because I didn't know how money worked. Took an ad in the newspaper, and Samsung Textile Division called and said, we want to manufacture and distribute your clothes. LL Cool J putting Fubu in the Gap ad. All these are a bunch of successes to me that added up.
Certainly. Now, LL just like haphazardly just did that, or did you guys already kind of like have some form of an agreement?
We had some form of an agreement, but he did that on his own. I mean, you know, listen, you know, a lot of people want people of your nature and various other people or me or who are influencers, but L was an influencer and a mentor, right. and he lived the product. He really believed in our mission, and he would have done it no matter what, because he felt that the mission needed to be heard. And you know, he put that in the Gap ad. Now that was crazy. I mean, he technically could have got sued for that.
Word.
You know what I mean? Because he's going off script, and you know, they could have said, "Yo, what are you doing here?" You know what I mean? They could have just said, "Here's damages." Jeez. And they could have probably tried to sue him for hundreds of millions of dollars. Say, yo, you just damaged our brand.
Damn. So for us, by us, where did that come from, essentially?
For us, by us came from when I started hearing that Tommy Hilfiger doesn't like African Americans, or Ralph Lauren doesn't like inner city kids, or whatever, doesn't like whatever. And I was saying to myself, who's ever going to value the crowd? Now, I know those are rumors now because I know those designers. But Timberland, at the time, it made a comment saying, we don't sell or make our boots for drug dealers. And they put that in the New York Times.
Damn.
And you and I know that cats up in New York.
That's who kept the lights on.
That's it.
That's who kept the lights on.
That's it. You know, so
Atlanta, too.
Yeah, of
and
course.
Everywhere in between.
Of course. Listen, man, I used to literally wear my Timbs with my bathing trunks when I go to the beach. Straight up. Right? So
where you from originally?
I'm from New York. I'm from Hollis, Queens.
Okay, Queens. Okay.
So if you make technically the best boot in the world, well, if you're only selling the mountain climbers, they only need it once every year.
That's right.
But if we buy them the way we buy Jordans or Yeezys, I need to buy 2 new pair a month.
That's your spike.
Yeah. and then you just told me I was a drug dealer.
Right.
When I wasn't.
You know what I'm saying? Now you've kind of, boxed me into a formality or stereotype.
Stereotype. A lot of people do think that Fubu was only for people of African American descent, and that's incorrect, because then I would have been a bigot the same way that Timberland was. Back then, I would have dressed Beastie Boys. I would have dressed MC Serch. Today, I would have dressed Eminem. I don't give a shit. As long as you loved hip hop, that's what it was. So, Fubu was a brand that was created from an art form that African Americans created. And I always wanted people around the world to enjoy it the same as people want to enjoy your music, to let them understand our world.
Right. That's dope. And then the transition of Fubu into Fubu Platinum when you got the Fat Albert
and all
shit.
that stuff.
Yeah. How did that take place?
At that time, Iceberg was selling sweaters for $400, $500,
True.
and they were cheap sweaters as far as I was concerned. And they also had characters that we couldn't relate to. And I said, I'm not going to sell it for $400 or $500. I know it doesn't cost that much to make. I'm going to sell it for $80 or whatever the price is that I know that I can make it.
You can get your margins decent
and get them decent margin. But I want people to know who Fat Albert and the gang was, or Muhammad Ali, or Harlem Globetrotters, and be able to be proud of wearing characters and or aspirational people of color. And that's what I did, and it took over and went really, really well.
Man, that's dope. That's dope. And see, a lot of people don't know these things about you, so I'm gonna just pick up from what I know from lifestyle, my experience.
Sure.
I have a brand, or two brands, one of them being Gaku, a king of oneself. We've been in, I think it's our 12th year of business, and another one being Hustle Gang Athletics, which is probably about 8 years in business. And it's a very tough, thank you, it's a very tough undertaking.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? It's a daunting task to continue to design through fads and trends as doors close and go bankrupt to keep from paying people for their orders. It's tough. I came in when people said there will never be another artist line. A line that's like spearheaded by an artist.
Right.
And, you know, we came in that time right when the recession hit and everybody's loans weren't being, you know, acknowledged and so on and so forth. It was a very tough time for the business. Came in there sustained. I can recognize and respect all of the wherewithal and the skill set that you have to, you know, be acclimated with in order to survive. And you switched it even from Platinum Fubu and you went and acquired Kuji.
Yeah, so you're right, you know, but to understand brands, you know, hot fashion brands, you know, the real length of it is stay hot 5 to 7 years.
Okay.
Right? Now, and we got our unicorns out there. We got our Ralph Lauren's and Nikes and Louis Vuittons. But even if you look at stuff like Benetton and Coach and other ones, up and down.
That's right.
Herbs and flows, right? So I realized that a kid who had, you know, 4 years of Fubu in their closet, who was in high school, they want to look a little different when they go to college. I'm a big boy, a big girl now. Let me switch it up. Let me go mess with, you know, one of your brands, right? But I also knew that if I go and acquire brands, where were my assets? My assets were I knew how to manufacture. My assets, I knew a lot of great talent who was willing to have a symbiotic relationship, and I could put it on them in their videos and various other things. And I also had distribution through the stores. So now I got to use that asset instead of being an egotistical person and say, well, just buy Fubu. No, I'm not going to do that. I went and acquired Kuji. I went and acquired Etonic sneakers. I licensed out Kappa, but I failed at Kappa, and I licensed Ted Baker. I failed at that one. And a couple other ones we had, Willie Esco and various other brands. And I just kept acquiring brands to get them out there.
Man, how do you recognize the void in the market for you to fill?
I knew that Kuji had a legendary reputation, and it went bankrupt because the guy in Australia, you know, didn't do right with it. But I knew that if I purchased a brand, that the OGs would be like, "Yo, that's Kuji. I used to wear $700 sweats." Now, if I do that, but I make $100 denim because you were never able to acquire it, they only made one sweater. So I had brand equity in the name of it. You know what I mean? And now I'm going to, you know, bring it over here and make it this. So
I think that's a phenomenal feat. So, like, how I see myself. I know a lot of people look at me as a rapper. They look at me as an actor. If you really know me, then you may, you know, consider me some sort of real estate developer or something like that. But how I see myself really is a brand builder. And that's kind of how I see you. Like over time, you know, from Grand Hustle to trap music to Family Hustle to Rhythm and Flow to Aku to Hustle Gang to I mean, just so many different brands that have been built throughout my career. I look at people like, you know, that have achieved the level of success that you have, not just with one brand, but in continuing to evolve, recognize, okay, the exit strategy is this,
right,
and it's going to parlay us into this.
Right.
I see value in that, and I almost look to it more than I would someone who maintained one particular brand over a period of time.
I agree with you. The ability to, and that's what the book Power Shift is about.
Pivot.
Because it's about pivoting. It's about shifting power to other people. It's about shifting power to yourself. I look at guys like you who have been through so many different industries, and the majority of the people in your industry, 90% of them, they fall by the wayside.
Right.
I look at people like Diddy. I mean, listen,
Absolutely.
started off as a dancer. Then all of a sudden, a record label executive, then a producer. Then he moves into my business and gets to the top of being fashion guy. And then he moves into the wine and spirits business. Right? Each one of those businesses, and television.
Film and television,
Each one of those businesses are hard enough to make it halfway there. How can he do that? How can Magic Johnson move on? And how can the TIs of the world do that? And that's exactly what the book was about. And I wrote it because there's a distinct thing that all of us have that can move those directions. First of all, we've built some level of influence throughout our community. We've also negotiated mentally with ourselves what we can accomplish.
Right.
Then we go to the negotiation table. We carve the best deals or the most lucrative deals for both parties at the table.
Okay.
And then we nurture a relationship that we'll get 10 more deals out of, through the course of our lifetime. We weren't just transactional people.
Right. I mean, okay, so let's shift gears out of retail, I guess, a little bit.
Yeah.
Into Shark Tank. The concept, the idea, like how... Okay, so the other thing, you did Fubu very well, and then you parlayed it into platinum, then you parlayed it into Coogee and Etonics. Okay, that we can get. You're a mastermind in the fashion world.
Right.
How do you shift gears and go into television and win 4 Emmys?
I wish I could say that I was a visionary and I had a vision for all these actions that I've taken. But I wasn't. And what I did is I started writing books, and I wanted to educate people on entrepreneurship. Mark Burnett calls up and says, "Yo," he saw me like on a TV show early in the morning on CNBC or something like that, and said, I got a show that's already #1 in London, Japan, and Canada. It's called Dragons, and I'm bringing it to America. I want you on the show." I go, who the hell wants to see 5 business people talk like, who wants to see that? This show's garbage. It's not gonna make it nowhere. But I'm like, yo, you know what? I need a trip to LA.
Right.
I had some pieces out in LA at the time. I was single. You know what I'm saying?
As you should.
I go out to LA. I said, I'm gonna go on the show. I'll shoot you a little pilot, but here's the only thing you got to guarantee me, Mark Burnett. You gotta let me go to breakfast with you because I got 3 ideas, show ideas that are smoking hot. That's the only reason I'm gonna do it.
Right.
Go out. Shoot the pilot. I go to breakfast with Mark. He knocks down the ideas before the damn orange juice comes down. They were pretty whack.
Hate it.
They're pretty whack when I think about it. And the show gets picked up.
Dope.
The show gets picked up.
So it was all the original 4?
Well, Cuban came on year 2.
Okay.
But the show got picked up, and so
I could see myself on this show.
I can see you on the show too.
I could see myself on this show.
On
either side, by the way.
No. You gotta be in the chair,
I'm
baby.
joking. I'm being facetious. Yeah. But I'm saying, like, the show is because you've had to be on that side too.
Yeah.
Like, to make it to the chair.
You had to be on the
be
rug.
On that other side.
You had to be on that rug.
I'm
still on the rug.
Yeah. So I mean, that's how I feel. Like, you know what I'm saying? You have to master both sides.
100%.
And I can respect it. So tell me one thing that you guys really fought tooth and nail over. That you guys really that you really wanted. Yeah.
On the show. Wow, man, we fight tooth and nail over a bunch of things. So I can tell you one we had a big disagreement about.
What's that?
Young brother comes on. He has this company called Scholly, and he had $1.2 million in scholarships himself, right? And he said, I want to create an app where parents and kids can go and find out scholarships that are available and find the best way to get them. And so and he's a brother out of Philadelphia. Lori and I like the deal.
Okay.
It's technology. Robert, Kevin, and Mark are like, it's garbage. And we're like, because they're tech guys.
Well, Okay.
So they're seeing things we're not. And like me being, or maybe you, I'm not sure how you are, but I'm a little jaded when it comes to clothing. I've lost some deals because I thought I knew it all.
That's right.
Right? And
That's right.
we get into a big argument because they're like, well, that's charity. And I'm like, why is it charity? Because he's black?
Oh,
But to me, he had proof of concept. Number one, he himself had $1.2 million in scholarships. So he knows how to get the money.
Right.
He's just transferring it and putting it onto another platform to allow other people to do that.
Right.
So who are you to tell me that I shouldn't put my money into that? And Lori then invested with me on the deal.
Okay.
And all of we got into a big argument. They got up and walked out.
Damn.
They got up and walked out because they were like, this is not the charity tank and this and that. Well, anyway, dude goes on to have a very successful company.
Damn.
So they're wrong.
And you and Lori.
And me and Lori was
on the upside of it.
On the upside of it. But the reality is, the best thing that makes the show real is, first of all, it's our money.
Right.
Those pitches are 2 hours long sometimes, an hour and a half long. People only see 8 minutes of it. We all know the fundamentals of business, but the way we execute it is going to be totally different.
I mean, sitting through pitches, man, most pitches are very bad.
Yeah. Well, on the
not
show.
On your show, I'm just saying, period.
100%.
If you go in 10 pitches, 2 or 3 are good.
Oh, man. Yeah. But that's why the show adds the entertainment value, because you're seeing dogs and cats and whatever.
Gotcha.
So it's different than you and me sitting there and I'm pitching you, because you probably tone out after 3 minutes if you already know there's some shit you ain't want to hear.
I've been in some bad pitches, man.
Oh, man.
I've been in some bad pitches. People start sweating bullets.
Yeah.
Shit got slow. But you guys won 4 Emmys.
4 Emmys, yeah.
When did you win your first? What season?
Season 5.
Season 5.
The show was going to be canceled the first 3 years.
Well, what made them continue on with it?
People wrote in and said, it's the only show on network that I can watch with my kids. They found the data that the kids from 8 to 15 were watching, and one of the top watch shows there, and I felt good. And people wrote into ABC and said, you need to keep airing this thing.
It seems like an instant win. It seems
they had just had a show on prior to that called American Inventor that had a very short run.
Well, did it have proven success?
No, they didn't even live long enough to have proven success.
Man. No, I'm saying proven success as far as the talent that, judges.
No, but you got to think about this. Here's how Mark Burnett thought. He was like, I'm not getting an athlete or a super active artists on the show. They were like, put on people that you know. You didn't know. I mean, you may have known because, we come from the same hood. Most Americans didn't know who Daymond John was or Barbara Corcoran, right? Or all these people.
But they Google, but with Google.
Yeah, but they wanted immediate recognition. They wanted to say, there goes Richard Branson, there goes Diddy, there goes T.I., there goes so forth. And what happened was Mark said, I'm not putting on yet early season. I'm not going to put on people who already have a job.
Right.
LeBron James has a job.
Right.
And if I put him on, people are not going to believe that LeBron James is rolling up his sleeve, coming over to your factory and doing it. He's a busy guy.
I get that.
So when they said, we're not going to do that, they said, we're going to cancel the show. And then it just kept growing. The show and people kept coming back to the show.
Professionals.
They wanted professional. Now we put on the T.I.s of the world because the A-Rods of the world, some entertainers, because we know that when at your age and your experience, you're running businesses now.
Yeah.
But prior, we wouldn't put on somebody like a LeBron or somebody who's busy.
Right.
Because people are gonna say, well,
it makes sense. I mean, not for a full season, especially. You know what I'm saying? Because you got to have people who kind of can give you first position.
Yeah.
You dig what I'm saying? And usually, cats like LeBron and, I mean, even me for that matter, man, we move with the money at the speed of opportunity.
But also, social media, when we came out in 2008, I mean, there was only Facebook and Twitter, and you couldn't really see, like today, podcasts and all this stuff. If you was on a show and you had a company, they see you pushing it. They can see you stop by the warehouse and check out shit, but they couldn't check that out back then. And early time, people weren't up on social media as much as they are today.
I mean, I think that it definitely exposed us more.
Yeah,
exposed us to what's going on across town, across the country, across the world, which has worked to our benefit and our detriment at times.
Absolutely.
But I think you have always maintained your position on the upswing of it all.
I've tried.
You've done phenomenally. Is there any other industry that you see yourself taking a position in?
I'm in most of the industries now because of my portfolio. There's no industry that I'm looking at besides maybe sustainability.
Right.
That I feel super passionate about. So probably sustainability.
Are you in energy?
I'm in energy. Yeah.
You are?
Well, yeah.
I think that's the new wave.
Yeah, sustainable energy, of course.
Yeah.
Clean energy, renewable.
Yeah.
And a lot of people, they listen. If you're listening to us right now and you're saying to yourself, well, man, these cats are talking about being in energy. You can go in the stock market and be in energy.
Absolutely.
You don't have to. You can take
Just
$20
and make a pick.
Yeah.
And take some shares.
Be in energy.
Yeah.
I'll give you one. And I love saying this. I don't invest in stocks that. I only invest in stocks that if they went away, it would hurt my life.
Yeah.
Right? So
Gotcha.
Amazon went away, it would affect my life.
Guess what?
Instagram, Facebook go away, Instagram, it would affect my life. So I like this stock called Shopify because everybody who has a store who wants to sell goods, they put it up online. It's a Shopify store.
Okay.
If retail is closing, but every single person is becoming a brand,
Right.
I bought Shopify at $24. I bought it 3 years ago. It's $450 today.
That's amazing.
That's 3 years ago. And so the people listening to us right now,
That's
if
amazing.
you're busting your ass at work and you ain't got time to open another business,
Right.
play off of other brilliant people.
That's right.
Invest into Shopify, Tesla.
Man, Tesla, I got in at 323.
There you go. What is it?
It's I think it's 470, 480, something like that. It's gonna break 1,000.
It's gonna break 1,000. Absolutely.
I got a good buddy, man, who gave you. He just told me. I don't know how he knew, but he said you should look at it.
If he was candlesticking and or doing any kind of day trading, you saw the momentum last week building up, and you saw the institutional buyers starting to come into the market.
I think the breaking of the window was all part of the plan.
You never know, right?
Yeah, because as soon as it took that dip, it shot right up and ain't looked back since.
Yeah.
And I mean, that's Amazon. I got into Amazon at the 52-week low on Christmas Eve of 19.
Right. So.
And now Amazon is up north of 2,000.
Right, and we know the market is going to come to a halt in another year or so. You
Absolutely.
double down when that happens.
Yeah, absolutely.
But keep your money in there because if you take the wins right now, you just got in, you got to pay 50% on it. But if you take it after a year, you only got to pay capital gains, 20%.
That makes sense.
People got to know how money works.
These are the things that I feel the generation need to know.
100%.
If you could talk to you at the time when you were selling hats outside, knowing what you know now, what would be the main point you would try to press upon yourself?
Financial intelligence. Know how the tool of money works. I almost went bankrupt 3 times. Obviously, 2 times I didn't have any money. And one time I did have money. I probably went through about $10 million fairly quickly.
Damn.
And
you had a good time.
I had a good time. I'm going to tell you something. I didn't spend it on foolish things, though, either. I just didn't know how money works. And the old saying is, if you don't know, if you know about interest, you'll make it. If you don't know about it, you'll pay it, right? And if you look at athletes and lotto winners, most of them bankrupt. They're bankrupt 3 years, either after leaving the league, over 65% of them, or 3 years after winning the lotto. They don't know how the tool of money works. So financial intelligence is extremely important. But the schools are never going to teach you that.
That's right.
The reason they won't teach you that is that the education system teaches you that in junior high.
You wouldn't be dependent on the system.
Then you're not exactly. Then they want you at 17, 18 years old to take $300,000 loans.
So they can pay. So you could pay back the interest forever and ever and ever.
So and especially today. Stats are showing that 50% of the kids graduating today, they will retire with a job title that doesn't exist today. So you're paying $300,000 to go to a school for a job that you don't know if you're ever going to have.
Yeah, it's not like the job that you will have hasn't even been created yet.
Yeah, if you would have told somebody 20 years ago you're going to be a social media expert or a drone operator or a podcast operator, they would have said, what are you talking about?
Who knows what the fuck that is?
Now, once you still go to school, if you're going to be a doctor, an attorney, please don't start cutting people open. You ain't go to school.
No, absolutely, because you can go to prison for that. But I think that is the key. Identifying exactly what it is you want to do and not just go to school just as a placeholder.
That's what Power Shift is about. To do that, let me ask you something. We know a lot of young brothers and sisters who are like, I want $1 million.
Certainly.
But why? What are you going to do with it?
Nobody knows. You know what I'm saying? Nobody knows.
You're going to buy one Bugatti? You're going to buy, you're going to buy a bunch of homes that are income generating? You're going to live off $30,000 a year for 10 years because you're going to move to Bali and just do canoes. But unless you know your why, just like what we're talking about, what is your why and why you're going to go to school? What is your why and what you're going to do and you're working so hard for this money?
Right.
Then you're lost.
So the new book that you have, right?
Yeah.
It's titled Power Shift.
Power Shift.
Yeah. But before we talk about the book, how many books have you written in totality?
This is my 5th.
This is your 5th book.
5th book, yeah.
So, man, you're like a real acclaimed author.
Yeah, I'm the only shark with two best-selling books.
Kick ass.
And I'm dyslexic, so it's a pain in the ass and it's hard as shit to write these books.
It's okay. So how, with dyslexia looming over you, how do you hunker down and write a book?
Very hard. It takes me 3 times the amount of time that it would take most people, and I write it with a ghostwriter who's on my book, Daniel Paisner. But it takes me a long period of time to do it.
So I'm asking because I'm thinking about doing. I've done 2 novels, but the thing is, I was in prison, so I had nothing but time at the time. Right. So, but the next one is going to be my autobiography. Right. And basically, I kind of like just sat back and forth with the ghostwriter that I have, and had interviews about pivotal moments in my life, my perspective, where my head was at this point, that point, and the manuscript looks great. Mm-hmm. It's very difficult to do fiction, as you know. Like T.I. during a fictional novel. That shit ain't, I tried to do that just to dare to be different.
Right.
But I think that the biography is probably the more personal, introspective look into one's life.
It opens you up a lot. My first book was Display of Power, and the reason I wrote it is I wanted to tell my story and the challenge I went through, because everybody made entrepreneurship seem so fly and so sexy when it's if you see Anthony Bourdain and Kate Spade, what happened is because of the stress of entrepreneurship a lot. And when you do that book on yourself, it opens up a lot of different, like, you can't just say, well, I'll give you an example. My father left when I was 10. But you're right on you got to explain. You got to open yourself up. How did you feel?
The last things you remember.
Yeah, what happened? How did that affect you mentally? So you got to really, when a book becomes a book when you open yourself up.
I think it started coming to you when people ask things about what's the first, like the youngest memory. Mm-hmm. And, like for me, people are surprised when I say the youngest memory is, me peeling tape off my mama's mouth from a robbery. I was about 3 years old. We were still living in New York. And so I described this memory to them, how, I pulled the tape from my mouth. I say, why they tape your mouth up, mama? You talk too much. and so, that's crazy. The guy, he had been taking care of me. I guess that he separated us when he came in. I didn't know what was going on. He set me in front of the TV, went in there with my mom, you know what I'm saying, and getting her to tell him where the money was, all that other, just
crazy.
Some real paid in full type shit, without the gunshots. And I remember him before he left saying the key to the handcuffs is on top of the picture. So she came in and asked me to climb up, get the key, and I undid. You know what I'm saying? So that's the youngest memory of myself.
Yeah, that's crazy.
You know what I'm saying? So I think when people ask, or the first time you fell in love, how'd you lose your virginity? Those types of things, depending on your life, it's going to paint a different picture.
Yeah.
I'm looking forward to it. Tell me something. Give me a piece of advice as an author. You know what I'm saying? Like, what is it that I should kind of tune my antennas to?
I think the detail of what you were saying, it's she had tape on her mouth, but, what was the feel in the room?
Silver
about the
duct
keys? Tape. Like, you got to get real detailed in it, because you're going to let that person's mind wander and become part of you. You know what I mean?
Yes.
So you got to walk them through those
visual
scenes.
Interpretation.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Now, so okay, you being the illustrious entrepreneur that you are, and I mean, like a staple in the culture. You dig? What is the worst investment that you ever made?
Worst investments.
And then tell me
I
one
ever
of your
made.
favorites.
Worst investments I ever made. You know, when I tried to do real estate myself, I had made a lot of money off of real estate, but the reason I made a lot of money off of real estate is
I love it.
When I first made money, I bought like 7, 8 houses, right?
Gotcha.
And when I got in divorce, my first divorce, it was '06, so the market was at a high.
Gotcha.
So if I paid 3 for something, I got 9 for it. You know what I mean? And so I made a lot of money.
Right.
But when I started to buy houses to flip them,
Right.
and I didn't know what I was doing because I'm the fashion guy over here.
Gotcha.
I lost money on all of those houses.
Right.
So now, listen, I got friends.
So it became a wash.
It became a wash. But those are the worst investments I had. But what did I learn from that? Number one, that's not my thing. I don't have a passion over it. And number two, what are my assets? I know some guys who buy massive, massive buildings. Right. And if I'm close enough to them for them to allow me to put a little nickel down on that and let me live with that, then let me do that instead of do this.
I mean, real estate for me, man, it was very fun.
Yeah.
You know, from 2001 up to 2008, 9, you know.
Yeah.
Then the fucking bottom fell out of it.
Right.
And then I had to remind myself, man, you got a day job. You don't have to take this shit.
Right.
So I got back to acting and rapping and shit. Went to prison, came home, went to prison again, came back home. And then I said, you know what? One thing that did not shift in the market, even as fickle as it was in real estate, was commercial.
Right.
Commercial stays solid.
Yeah.
So that's when I just started buying buildings.
That's good.
I started acquiring buildings for, I mean, really because I saw that gentrification was coming into my side of town. I saw what it did to Harlem. I saw what it did to Brooklyn.
Yep.
I saw what it did to D.C.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? I even saw what it did on the east side of town, in other areas, on 4th Ward, other areas that not necessarily my stomping grounds, but I'm familiar with them, and I saw how it affected the community.
Yeah, you have a foresight and a vision. You knew where the puck was gonna land.
And when it came to my side, when they said we're building a $2 billion Mercedes-Benz dome, a stone's throw from my neighborhood. Oh, I'm in there.
Yeah.
I'm in there. I'm in there. I'd be damned if you leave me out of this party.
That's right.
And I just started acquiring buildings, not even knowing what I was going to do with them. One of them that I acquired, we were fortunate enough to make it a trap music museum. And we've been doing phenomenally well with that, man. Love to get you by there whenever you get a chance.
In Atlanta?
Yeah, in Atlanta, yep. Trap Music Museum, you know what I'm saying? Celebrating the most significant contributors to the culture of trap music then and now. Basically a place where we're telling our story before anybody else can tell it for us.
That's great.
You know what I mean?
For us, by us.
Yeah, absolutely. Hey, man, you picking up what I'm putting down. I picked up what you put down. So tell me, where did the inspiration for the book Power Shift come from?
So this is my 5th book, and every time I wrote a book, I wrote, my 2 other ones that did really, really well is Power or Broke. You don't need to make money. You don't need to have money to make money. So I tried to get that out there to the world. Then it was Rise and Grind. What are you doing with your 24 hours? Or what is T.I. doing that makes him better than me in these areas, and how is he using those minutes and those hours, right?
That's what it's all about. That's the true currency.
Maximizing it, right?
That's the true currency.
And then, so then because I don't have the ability to physically mentor people a lot, limited time, I always compile the most commonly asked questions that I didn't answer in those other books.
Gotcha.
I'm a public speaker. And then what I started to realize is everybody started to ask me. They were like, you've seen over 1,000 pitches and negotiations on Shark Tank.
Right.
And I've seen over 10,000 outside in the private sector. And they were like, teach me about negotiation. What am I doing wrong? And everybody thought negotiating is a transactional thing where I get to the table and I speak with you right now and it's a transaction.
Right.
But there's 3 parts to negotiating.
Sometimes you have to plant seeds.
That's the first part.
Yeah.
Influence.
Right.
Influence is the first part, and then the actual negotiation, and then how do you get paper together forever
Closing
after that?
it.
So somebody said to me, "What are you talking about? If I see you in an elevator, it's 90 seconds. How did I build influence with you in 90 seconds? You don't know anything about me." And I go, "Because when I get out of the elevator, I'm going to look on your Instagram. And when I look on your Instagram, and let's say you're out there and your husband is always, talking crazy, putting up Confederate flags on his page.
Right.
I'm looking at you and everybody else. Well, then you're a racist too.
Right.
You're not going to know why I didn't call you back.
Right.
Right? Or various other things. I'm checking you out. I'm checking all the things out of you. And people don't realize that it started there. They think it starts when the paperwork's exchanged and all that stuff. No. Then we go through the negotiation.
The inkling.
The inkling. That's what it is. So talking about real estate, listen, your reputation is like skyscrapers. I'm driving through the city. I can see these things from miles away.
That's right.
You know what I mean? How's it looking to me,
That's real. I mean, all that makes sense. And since you have lived on both sides of the social life as an entrepreneur.
Yeah.
You've been married.
Yep.
You've been single.
Yep. Married again.
And you've been married again.
Yeah.
Okay. So for the younger entrepreneurs or for the young guys starting off, coming up, is it really cheaper to keep them? Or is it, is happiness down the road what is, as a young entrepreneur,
Yeah.
what would you suggest?
Young entrepreneur, I don't care if you're an entrepreneur or not. I told it to my daughters, don't do it till you're 35.
Don't do it till you're 35. What if you fall in love and you miss that real?
Then get married at 35. Have the baby at 35. If they don't love it, listen, they don't love you, because you ain't get married to them, then they don't love you, right? But, listen, for the first 15 or 20 years, you're somebody's son or daughter.
That's right.
At one point after that, you're going to be somebody's husband, somebody's mother, father, grandmother, grandfather.
Yeah.
When are you going to get to know yourself?
That makes sense.
The Daymond John at 20 was not the Daymond John at 30. I had different goals at 20, 30, but I was fortunate enough to be able to be smart enough to find myself.
That makes sense. And you can either grow together or grow apart. There are no exceptions.
Listen, you're going to live to 100.
You dig what I'm saying?
So you got 65 more years to figure it out together.
I think those are very useful tools. Those are very key elements of just a fundamental mindset to success.
But you got to negotiate with yourself first, and you got to take responsibility for what your actions. And so I put up a post the other day, and I said, listen, this is my 18th city in 30 days. Thank God I have a beautiful wife that understands the fact that I love going out motivating people.
Right.
But I'm telling everybody here now, you got to be selfish. You got to do the best you can for yourself.
Right.
So then you can be a better partner to somebody else.
Okay, so let's say that, Daymond John, someone like aspiring to be Daymond John. They're selling hats outside right now. With a $40 budget, and they got a girl that's supporting them and helping them, carrying boxes and doing all that. Now they 21, and then they make it, and by the time they 24, it's Fubu. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Okay. Now, at the time where they 26 and they've enjoyed some success, should the young lady not be kind of like, hey, well, I kind of helped you out.
100%. But that doesn't mean that you have to get married. Right? She could be a partner in the business.
This is absolutely true.
And so don't keep her captive because I helped you out, or vice versa.
Now,
if you want to get married and you want to have kids at an early age or at that age, you should do it if that's truly in your heart.
But be the exception and not the rule.
Exactly. Do it because you want to do it. It's fine. Maybe you grew up in a family where you didn't have family.
Right.
You want to make sure that you show love to these kids. And you know what? Your husband or the girl or guy you're with, you can see yourself living forever with them, and they have had your back. Okay, no problem. But why don't you not have kids and just travel the world together and get to enjoy yourselves together?
Now, I'm going to tell you, it don't matter whether you get married I got married at 30. So whether you get married at 30, 35, 40, 25, hey, listen, man, this shit ain't never gonna go how you expect it to go. Whatever you have in your mind when you propose, you was on your knee, that shit is never gonna go like that.
Make sure you have a good-ass partner, though, that they're ready to rock
like
with you.
Just make sure you got somebody that you can really, 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 really fuck with. When it all goes bad, I can still say, man, you know what? They be all right sometime, man. You know what I'm saying? Just make sure that you got somebody that you can really, really fuck with. Because when it get tough, you ain't going to fight for no sucker. You know what I'm saying? Because you got to fight for a marriage. And if you get down to the tough times, you is not going to be willing to strap up and fight with no sucker. So just make sure you get with a motherfucker that you can really respect and that you can really admire in their most purest form.
And I think, listen, your example of that, I went through that. I got married at a younger age,
right,
with a woman who helped me in the beginning with my brand.
Okay.
And by far most amazing. Divorced, but by far the most amazing mother ever.
Right.
We've never had to go to court. She's never made me look crazy, and I've never made her look crazy, because the value in when she helped me with myself and being the man that I am today and being still a partner, even though we're not married.
Right.
I will owe her for the rest of my life and have her back the rest of my life.
That's dope.
You know, so you just, but things happen. People fall apart. It is what it is, but doesn't mean you have to destroy the fundamentals of the rest of the relationship.
Yeah, I mean, I can definitely dig that. I think a lot of people may need to. They may need to. They may need to hear that.
They might.
What's your secret to building relationships and making them profitable?
Well, the business relationships are always usually, where do you add value to me and I add value to you? How am I going to be Batman and you're Robin and vice versa? You know,
reciprocity, I should say.
Exactly. The dating process, don't jump into it really quick. Have there be triggers, whether in your contracts or relationships with what, go and show people whose responsibility is what, you know? And also draw that out. Whose responsibility is what in this relationship?
What do you expect?
What do you expect? Because listen, a lot of people go in as partners and they, yo, let's do this, and yo, but what's your job and what's my job? You don't have that gray area, because all of a sudden when there's conflict,
that's real.
We never talked about it.
I think that like women a lot of times feel like they shouldn't have to communicate. Like you should already know. I shouldn't have to tell you. Yeah. I think that is a big, big, big gap. You know what I'm saying? Because, let's say for the good guys, you kind of remove their ability to kind of prepare themselves on their journey to make you happy. And then for the not so good guys, you know what I'm saying, motherfuckers who already got an agenda, you give them a out. You give them an excuse to use. Like, well, you never told me.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So I think it would behoove young ladies. I tell my daughters this all the time. Communicate.
Yeah.
If you whatever it is you expect, say that shit up front. Don't wait until the end of the deal, to kind of communicate.
I think that the biggest challenge that women face with that is that a lot of them have not been raised to be able to have a voice at the table, which is absolutely wrong. And they've been told by maybe other people in their family, no, don't stress the guy out.
Right.
Well, if I don't address it now,
right,
what's gonna happen when I do address it?
Yeah.
If he ain't shit,
the sooner the better.
He ain't shit. Go about your business. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, absolutely.
So tell me, who are the businessmen that you most admire? And women.
Yeah. Well, I admire all the sharks, all due respect. Of course, I admire Jeff Bezos probably the most, because having a vision of a global brand and also being able to think scrappy. I mean, he just released something, probably about 3 months ago. He said, if you're working over at Amazon and you want to make some extra money, on your way home you want to drop off boxes, you can drop off boxes. So what did that do? That gives my employees, I know my employees ain't going to mess up the boxes because they know they got to come back to work, right? They're making a couple of extra dollars. Right. I'm reducing my outlay of costs for shipping and billing. Right. That's thinking like an entrepreneur. So I value people like that. I also value people who change the world, Steve Jobs, Phil Knight. When people come up with an idea and a concept, Tesla dude.
Elon Musk. When
you come up with something that's going to change the way the planet exists.
That's right.
It's too fast. It's too much for me to think about. It's too big.
Yeah, I think that's my white whale. You know what I'm saying? Finding that one thing that kind of shifts the culture or shifts the generation's existence. Yeah. I think we all have that capability, man. It's just about how we tap into it and how we execute it, which you've done time and time again. You and Mark Cuban, you talk a lot, right?
Talk to Mark a lot?
Yeah.
Yeah, we talk a lot.
So can you share like some of the key things as it relates to business that you guys have shared, like things you've taught him, things he's taught you?
I can't tell you what I've taught him, because he ain't never gonna admit it. You know what I'm saying? Let me see what I've learned. I mean, a lot of stuff that we reinforce in Power Shift, what I've learned from him, because he's in Power Shift. Because Power Shift is, I have about 12 subjects in Power Shift, from Chris Jenner to Pitbull to Mark Cuban to a lot of other people.
Right.
Mark Cuban told me that no matter what the business is, you need to be hands-on with the business. You need to learn what's going on, and you need to check in. Don't think other people are going to run it just like you. And okay, we all know that, but remember, he had a challenge over at the Mavs office.
Okay.
There was a challenge about maybe wrong management were treating women not in a correct manner. And I remember when I went to Dallas one time, I was like, "Yo, Mark, let me come by the office. Let me come check out the office, man. I want to see how a basketball organization runs."
Right.
He was like, "I've been in office in 3 years," because when he was home in New York, when he was home in Dallas, he wanted to be with his son.
Right.
But what happened when the cat was away? The management was not doing the right thing,
Right.
and then the people who were suffering, they would only see Mark on the sidelines at the Mavs game. You can't come over to him then and go, "Yo, you know what happened in the office today?" So,
Right.
so when he found out, he'd made a lot of changes, and he started going over to the office, because he said, no matter what level you get to, when the cat is away, the mouse will play.
Absolutely. That's an amazing piece of information to take away. Pitbull shared an interesting concept in your book about tapping into your inner power. He said, a lot of people feel that powerful is to exude strength. I think it's the total opposite. To be powerful is to be powerless. It's when you give everybody what you got. That's pretty profound. Pretty profound.
It's walking in the room, making everybody feel special and saying, "I have all this, whatever you want to use of this, well, let's discuss it." You know what I mean?
Stripping yourself of all of your armor and giving it to them.
I walk in rooms now, and it could be intimidating because you've been somebody who was watching me on TV for 11 years, and
Right.
I notice the room gets quiet a lot of times, and
Right.
they're gonna think, this guy's brilliant. I'm probably half as smart as half the rooms I'm walking into.
That makes sense.
And when you walk in the room and say that, "Hey, everybody," and you go
Sure, there are much more smarter guys than me.
Yeah, a lot of you guys here are smarter and wealthier than me. What's up, man? I'm glad we're having a good time. The only difference between you and me is you're a shark, I'm a shark. I just have a camera on me all the time, and I sit next to an asshole named Kevin O'Leary. That's the only difference. And when I say that, they let their guards down.
Right.
I notice when I'm speaking to colleges, the professors are chilling like this, and when I just open up and be very honest, I'll be like, I'm not here to talk to you about macro and micro financing and stuff like that. Actually, the professors here can give me a PhD on it. And thank you, professors, for spending the time to invest in our future. Then all of a sudden, you see
Now they get up.
you
Now
see the
they
professor
interested.
sitting up
Yeah,
like
this
that.
guy knows what he's talking
You know
about
what I'm
here.
saying? They be like, I disarm them.
Right.
Other than that, if I don't disarm them, they may object. They can't object really to me because I'm telling you my story. You can't
Right.
object to my story. But the
It's unique to you.
Yeah, the minute you start talking about some craziness, there's some people out there to pull your panties down. You know what I mean?
That's the key. That's the key, guys. You know what I'm saying? Stop walking in the room with the tough shit, because the way you present yourself is the way you will be received. Man, I really, truly appreciate you coming through, man. I think you've shared a lot of key tools and fundamental advice that people can use on their journey from where they are to where they hope to be in life.
A lot of things you said also reinforce some of the things I'm saying, so it makes me feel, again, I need to hear it often and often and often from other professionals, because then it helps me feel like I'm on the right track as well, because life is about learning,
Absolutely. And again, man, you know what I'm saying? This is, I'm just going to lay it out there. Whenever y'all need an extra shark,
I'm going to mention it. I'm actually going to mention
an extra shark in the tank, please let me know.
I'm going to mention
Assuming that a book tour is underway.
Yeah.
When you come to Atlanta, man, be sure to hit me up. I want to take you to eat. You know what I'm saying?
right.
We're going to go, got to go grab some soul food from Busy Bees.
Busy Bees? Okay.
Yeah, maybe a little cheetah, you know what I'm saying? A little cheetah dinner, and then, you know what I'm saying, we'll get into
Dinner at Cheetah's?
Dinner at Cheetah. Yeah, 5-star restaurant. Listen, you don't go to Cheetah.
You talking to Cheetah Club?
Yeah.
Okay.
You don't go to Cheetah for the girls. You go to Cheetah for the food.
Not at all, man.
You go to Magic City for the girls.
Go to Magic City?
Yeah. Or Blue Flame.
What are like Follies? Is it Follies?
Follies is pretty good. It's extremely dark in there.
Yeah.
It's extremely dark.
I don't remember them, but yeah.
Yeah. But we're just
I'ma
gonna
hit you up, man.
what we're gonna do
For
is
sure.
we're gonna get a slice of culture.
I'm gonna do that. I love the A was always our #1 city Fubu for love. You know what I mean?
Y'all ran through that motherfucker, man. I'm talking about everybody from the top of the top to the bottom of the bottom had this shit on.
We love it, man. He's the best,
man. We appreciate y'all. So the tradition we have here, expeditiously, is the word of the week. Now, the word of the week is a word that I use, or should I say that I choose, that is indicative of the discussion or the guest that we're having. This word that I chose is parsimonious.
Parsimonious.
Parsimonious. Yes.
So par and simonious.
Yes. Base word parsimony. Yeah.
So I'm gonna have to think of it like alimony. Where did par come? I'm trying to find the origin of it.
Though,
I'm trying to find the origin of it.
You're close. The definition of parsimony is unwilling to spend money or use resources. That is the antithesis of alimony.
Yes.
Now, what we do, man, we're going to use it in a sentence just so people who listening can go to school or to work or back to the block and use this word, man, and act like they done known it all their lives, giving me nor you no credit whatsoever,
right.
But that's okay. That's what we like to do here at Expeditiously. We're going to help you guys expedite your way into a great vocabulary. Using it in a sentence, let's see here. Most rich people remain rich by employing parsimonious habits.
I like that.
Yeah, well, that was a little bit of a joke, but it's also true. You know what I'm saying?
I know this brother just came home. Wait till I hit him with that, because he be hitting me with the big words. I'm like, yo, man.
Parsimonious.
Parsimonious. He
yeah,
gonna be like, what that mean?
Hey, man,
I'll be
let
like,
me get 100,000. Nah, man, I'm being parsimonious
yeah,
right now.
Yeah, there you go. Man, but he just came home. He may be like, yo, what you just say to me? I'm like,
hey, man. Hey, again, not only thank you for coming here today, but thank you for your contribution to the culture. Thank you for teaching us, being the example. And also thank you for entertaining us, man.
Thank you for your support, man, as
Right
always.
on.
And thank you for uplifting and changing our culture and being the poet of our culture. Thank you so much, brother.
Love and respect, brother. This has been Expeditiously. Daymond John, everybody. Watch your favorite episodes of Expeditiously right now on the Expeditiously YouTube page.